Welcome back, viewers. Focus is on tracking the big stories. Indians are making us richer. It's official. According to the Forbes 2025 list of the America's richest immigrants, India has contributed the highest number of the immigrant billionaires, which is 12 this year, overtaking Israel as the leading birthplace of billionaire immigrants. The 125 billionaire immigrants identified by Forbes hail from 43 countries, but nearly two-thirds of them were born in India. Israel, Taiwan, Canada, China, and 5 other nations. However, US President Donald Trump has slapped a whooping 50% tariffs on India, which is among the highest in the world. Now, amid the India's strong stance calling the move unjustifiable, unfair and unreasonable, meanwhile, the US Treasury Secretary has warned that the Trump administration could impose additional secondary tariffs on India, with the final decision depending on the outcome of a meeting between President Donald Trump and the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Well, on this note, viewers, I would like to take a moment to welcome my guest on the broadcast, a very special guest joining me live, Mr. Sanjeev Joshipura, who is the Executive Director of Indiaspora, is joining me live. Thank you, sir, for joining me and appreciate you giving me this time. And now we speak of the tariffs at India. How is, in your opinion, the Indian diaspora reacting to the Trump's tariffs and the developments that are happening in the recent times over the additional tariffs imposition that has been announced by the White House?
There have been a lot of reactions across the spectrum from the Indian diaspora to the tariffs. Uh, there have been some sections of society that among the Indian diaspora who are close to the Republican Party and to elements of the Trump administration that are urging a different approach, that are urging that the Trump administration keep in mind the importance of the U.S.-India relationship, that the Trump administration show a better understanding of India and the red lines of India's trade negotiators, and not rush to impose these tariffs. Uh, you know, uh, so there is that section of society. Then there is another section among the Indian diaspora that is very keen on India sort of picking up the phone, if you will, and reaching out to Donald Trump, suggesting that India do that, suggesting that India grease the wheels, if you will, of the negotiation by nominating Mr. Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, and things like that. But across the board, I think the Indian diaspora here in the United States does view itself as a living bridge between the US and India, does view itself as the bulwark of a broad based relationship across many different sectors of activity between the two countries, across many different and diverse realms, and strongly wants the United States and India to have an upward trajectory and maintain that upward trajectory in their relationship in the years ahead.
Absolutely. As these developments are still in the early stages of India to examine more and anticipate further from this point of time. It is important to understand, sir, do you think that Trump's hostile nature will in any manner affect diaspora and the Indian diaspora there and people to people exchange? These are the surface level activities that are happening between the two nations. But when we speak of the people to people ties, is it going to have a larger impact?
Uh, Policies will have an impact. So, for example, we have already seen that student numbers and applications, student visas, and so on and so forth from India have been reduced to America this year as compared to last year. In fact, there are plenty of episodes of Indian students having received their admissions at four-year universities or for master's programs in the United States that have had to defer or delay just because they don't get their visas on time and so forth. So policies will have an impact. But what we are also confident about is that among the Indian diaspora here, the relationship that uh, that the diaspora is a very strong and vital element of strengthening between the two countries is across many different sectors. You think about academics in terms of Indian professors in the United States, more than 20,000 university and college professors. Think about the medical profession. One in seven doctors is Indian American. You think about American politics as well today on both sides of the aisle. The Indian diaspora played a crucial role in the Biden administration at the highest levels. Now, in the Trump administration, there are Indian Americans at senior positions. So, you name the sector, you think about cuisine, think about the burgeoning number of top notch Indian restaurants in the United States in the major cities. Think about Major League Cricket and how that is making inroads in the U.S. sporting scene with a lot of players from of Indian origin, right? So the relationship cuts across a broad swath of sectors. Think about technology. Think about AI. Think about the CEOs of Indian origin, the household names at many of the top companies around the world that are of Indian origin, based here in America. So the relationship is extremely broad based. While policies will have an impact, we believe that some of these setbacks are temporary. We believe that in the longer term, the relationship is enduring between these two countries and should be a cornerstone in the 21st century for peace and stability around the world.
Absolutely, as it is in fact a very good sign that these developments that are still not completely understood as a final agreement comes in seem temporary, but at the same time there has been a close bonhomie that has been witnessed with Pakistan as well of the White House. Do you feel that Donald Trump's red carpet to Munir and his tantrums against India in any way related to what is happening with also the agreement and the tariffs also that have been slapped against India?
Uh, you know, far be it from me to comment on meetings, private meetings that are held between leaders, in the White House and so on and so forth. But based on media readings, one gets the sense, and then based on other conversations that uh, I've had with people that are involved sort of in closer ways with some of the negotiations and the administration and so on and so forth. One is led to believe that uh, Donald Trump, President Trump, was quite keen, as he has mentioned repeatedly in the public sphere, about the role of the United States, his role in, uh, as he terms it, mediating peace between India and Pakistan. I know that that is an extremely sensitive issue, obviously, from the Indian perspective, and has been for decades. And India is reacting in a prickly way based on not only its domestic political constituencies, I think, but also based on its new perception of itself as a nation on the world stage that is a much more consequential, influential, and powerful player today than it was even, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago, when the Indian economy was not quite the size as it is in today's day and age.
Well, all right. In fact, as we move forward, another important subject where I would like you to also answer is the fact that India's response, which has been very non reciprocal and very minutely calculated. Do you think that it is the right way to go about this, or do you suggest anything that essentially can also lead or help India to make a better decision responding to this tariff threat?
I think that there is still a possibility, that there is still hope that the trade discussions and negotiations which have been stalled for the moment will resume, and that both sides will hopefully come to a phased trade deal in stages, to be implemented in stages, which was the conversation all along until the tariffs were suddenly imposed. And my sense is that uh, there are some elements in the administration in the United States, and indeed, in the governing among the government in India, that are still holding out hope and belief that the negotiations will resume, and that a mutually satisfactory outcome will be reached over the course of the next several weeks and months. One has seen that in the United States, President Trump has been very sudden in imposing tariffs and duties on several countries, but then equally so, uh, almost as suddenly, tariffs have been withdrawn, deadlines have been extended. I know that that has obviously not been the case with India, but one still holds out hope that with a better conclusion of the tariff negotiations between the two countries, when the talks resume, that some of these tariffs that have been imposed will be decreased.
Certainly, sir. And another part where the next question that I would like your answer over is that, do you think that India and the United States is going to agree to a trade deal ultimately, and it is in the works, and there should be optimism that could be expressed as we move forward? We see and calculate all our steps and very deliberately, in fact, put the right car at the right time.
It is my hope and belief, driven by the logic of global economics, of global trade, and indeed of global geostrategy, which I know have been completely upturned, and sort of turned on their head, turned upside down. Use your phrase of choice, between the United States and India, and indeed globally speaking, now with this new administration. Uh, but there are some basic elements of global geostrategy that I think still remain, and that are very evidently true. Uh, Not only the link of the diaspora between the United States and India, but also the fact that in the longer term, there are shared interests between the two countries, that the two countries are parts of wider groupings that even in this current administration in the United States, for example, the Quad, have not been disbanded. In fact, there are some areas of these wider multilateral groupings that both the India and the United States are part of. There are some elements of that that have been brought into sharper focus in the current administration, and so using the logic of that is very evident in global trade, in global geoeconomics, and global geostrategy. I do still believe that the two countries will not miss the forest for the trees, so to speak, and that will over time. I can't predict when it will be. I don't have a crystal ball as to say whether it'll be a few weeks or maybe a few months. But I do believe that over time the two countries will reach some kind of understanding on trade, and perhaps it will be a phased understanding and a phased implementation over the course of the next couple of years.
Well, absolutely. And, as you spoke of what may happen if there is also something that could not be worked over. And in such a scenario, if there is no trade deal that comes about, what will be the immediate impact on our businesses? very shortly after if we see such a situation coming out?
I think it's going to be very sectoral. Even as of this moment in time, where the tariffs have been imposed, there are different sectors of Indian business that have been impacted in different ways. Uh, the newspapers in India and the press and the media, uh, certainly in India, to some extent here in the United States, have been flooded by articles about the various sectoral impacts of tariffs on different sectors of industry. There has been talk about pharmaceuticals, about steel, about electronics, about textiles, about agriculture. There have been a lot of discussions across a variety of different fields, chemicals, and so on and so forth. Uh, I am heartened by the fact that services are not part of this imposition of tariffs. That is one element of the Indian economy and the Indian commercial and corporate sector that I hope will continue to do the bilateral work between the United States and India as it has done for the past many years and decades, and that will be a bridge in the commercial space between the two countries that is unhindered by the imposition of tariffs.
All right. Now, let me also move forward with the last question that I would like to ask you as we wrap up this entire discussion on what happens to the Indian diaspora and the Indian businesses at large, as in the view of what is the relation for the future between the United States and India is going on. So, finally, do you see a long-term impact of the Trump's tariffs as we put a full stop here on our discussion as well?
Indeed, I think that like I said, global macroeconomics, global trade relationships, even global strategic relationships have been turned on their head. What was an article of faith, what was a sort of a fait accompli, what was a standard assumption uh, until last year, is now no longer true in many cases. So, most certainly, the tariffs will have impacts on the global stage, not just as pertains to India. And as pertains to India, I think India will again revert to uh, a slightly more careful stance in its relationship with the United States, because India may feel that some of the arduous buildup that has been done by both sides, the hard work that has been done in building this relationship between the two countries, has not borne the kind of fruit that uh, that well-wishers in both countries of the relationship would have hoped for, and that the sudden imposition of these tariffs calls into question some of the basic assumptions that India had, and indeed that the United States had until last year about this bilateral relationship. And so I do think that India will be a little more cautious, a little more careful in the months and years ahead about the relationship, the bilateral relationship. But then again, uh, the global geopolitics can sometimes be a little bit fickle. One never knows with changes in domestic politics on both sides, and the constraints imposed by domestic politics on both sides, whether that will yield any changes, in the longer term, and indeed in the medium term, in the relationship between the two countries. It really remains to be seen. I don't have a crystal ball, as I said earlier, but I do think that there will be a little more caution in terms of geostrategy and global commerce and so on and so forth that between the two countries moving forward.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. It is indeed a pleasure speaking to you, as in fact we decode the ramifications and the impact that overall the economies and the sectoral departments for the India and also the White House would face in the view of the tariff controversy and tensions escalating right now. Thank you very much, Sanjeev Joshipura, speaking to us at Live. Now, viewers, on that, with more news and updates on the other side, stay tuned. It's time to slip into a short break.